Ooh, hello everybody. So I was gonna do like 12 of these, but I'm tired. So, so I kind of want to do a few, but I might just do one. I got two. Oh, snap. This would have been insane. I have four new decks, two regular size, two mini. I have a mini Santa Muerte. It's the only Santa Muerte I have. They had a mini Witch's Tarot. The Witch's Tarot was my second deck. It took me a while to like get into it, but it's my favorite. It's one of my favorites. And then I had the Runic Tarot because I thought it was on my wish list. Um, Maybe I never made it around to putting it in there. But I went to the store today and they had it. I was like, oh my gosh, I'll get it. And then I also got this deck called like the Book of Heroes because it had like a shirtless dude on the cover, and then the back talked about here it is. Um, Deck of Heroes Tarot. And it says every fair maid's fantasy, the dreamy men like those of romance novel covers come to life in this breathtaking 78 card tarot deck. And here's the box. So I was like, why not? So I went for it. The cards I have seen though, they're a little dark, some of them. So you'll see. So anyway, what I'm gonna do is I was gonna do it for all 12 signs, but I'm not. We're gonna do the myth, the person, and then the skeleton underneath. And I was gonna pre-shuffle these and just go boom, 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 boom through, just like pull one off the top for each zodiac sign. The more I talk about it, the more I want to do it, but also I don't want to be here for like 5 hours. So anyway, that's what I'm gonna do. And every person represented. So like for every person represented in a myth, there's gonna be a person. For every figure character, for every human character. Because there's a polar bear on this one, the polar bear would not get a card. Because if I let the polar bear get a card, then where would I stop? You know what I mean? And then for every person in the person, every character in the person, they have a skeleton, right? So I'll pull one of those. And we're going to do one of these, and then we'll see if I'll do a second, and then maybe a third. The two cards that came out just right off the top, though, is Strength and the Ten of Cups. Personally, this Scorpio season literally just started, and it has been wild. At this point, I feel like I've been in this for a year now, where I'm like, what's my Saturn return, and what is just the energy? And like, I'm like, okay, Scorpio. Like, I'm a Pisces. I can get down with the get down. Like, we doing this little bottom of the ocean floor thing. Okay. And I was like, okay, all right. Well, luckily Scorpio didn't keep me down for too long. But I'm just like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm being like washed. That's the purification. I feel like I'm being like dunked and then like scrubbed, exfoliated, transformed. Also, I'm off of dragon's milk. I've been weaned off of dragon's milk with hard lemonade. So, you can see all that mess. I know. You can also see my telescope. It used to be over here, but now it isn't because I just haven't made it back there yet. So, I am going to drink one of these Mike's Hard Lemonades. This video is obviously not sponsored. If you're going to drink, I encourage you to follow your laws and do it responsibly. Pretty good. I was a little scared of the strawberry ones because I'm not a huge fan of strawberry. But it has less than half of the alcohol content of dragon's milk. So We are a fan of that. So the reason why I was like, oh my gosh, is because like if I pull this card, look at all those people. They don't have skeletons. But this is interesting because it feels like there's this energy where like it takes strength to have a seat at this table. Like there's some kind of proving, but the proving would have already happened. So this is like you go through your journey, you do blah 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 whatever, and then you start to meet and attract more people who have more or less done the same. So it's a new type of or a new experience of like I almost want to say community, but not necessarily community. With the Seven of Wands at the bottom of the deck. I don't know. So those two just came out. Excuse me. It's interesting though because was it 2 days ago now? I feel like I hit my final trigger, like my big trigger, like the trimmers were here. And if you've been watching me for a minute, then you would have had more opportunity to hear me say what one of my biggest triggers is, which is happiness. And I feel like I've been very content in the past, I don't know how long. And I've had moments, hey Holly, how you doing? I've had moments where I've been happy, of course. But it was just like the level. I was like, because again, I asked for everything. I asked for a lot. And being faced with receiving it, I was like, oh my gosh. But stay tuned. We'll see. So anyway, let's see what the collective or whatever myth wants to come out right now. Give us a myth for Scorpio season, question mark. Well, we'll see how it applies. I've already shuffled these a few times because I literally just opened these. Oof. Well, I'm glad you can get a little bit of escape because that sounds intense. No, this is too many. This card got countless people in it. Nope, we're doing one, two at the most. Nope, one card, one card. I didn't get any Oracle decks today. That's fine. Oh, one card just fell on the floor. Am I taking it? Yes. Oh, Ace of Wands just tried to flip over, but I'm putting it back. I could have actually taken the Ace of Wands because there wasn't a person depicted in it. I think this is the Five of Pentacles. If this is the Five of Pentacles, that's a very... I would assume this is the Five of Swords. Shields. That is a shield. Are shields... I literally don't even know what the elements are. Shields are pentacles. Okay. Yeah. Why does this Five of Pentacles look so Five of Swordsy? The image description says 2 Vikings got caught in a winter storm without shelter. Trees are barren and the ground is hard. 5 broken shields appear haphazardly strewn over a tree from an old battle. 2 appear in a tree, broken and pierced with arrows. 3 are on the ground, also split and shattered. 1 Viking holds a staff and has their back turned. They appear to be walking out to find help. Another Viking sits on the cold winter ground. Bandages appear on their left hand and eye. Left eye bandages has low key Odin energy because he sacrificed an eye. And then there's this. Is this the Shadows rune? I'm pretty sure it is. Let me use my cheat sheet. It's not Gebo. Is that Gebo or is it? No, no. That's now Tease. Right? That's the Shadow. The Shadow. They look so similar. I mean, it would be. There's this like. Oh, snap. Was it last night or it might have been? I had this crazy dream. I'm like, okay. I actually got to go like. I went like semi lucid in that dream. Where it's like I wasn't like fully lucid, but I was lucid enough to like look for things in the dream. I don't know. It's interesting because it feels like this gift shadow energy is so like interchangeable. And when it says like winter, of course, my brain is like, well, is this Fimbulvinter? Are these the events that precede Ragnarok? What's at the bottom of the deck? The bottom of the deck is the Nine of Cups with Sawillo, Sickle. Pretty sure that's the Sun Room. The Five of Cups is the card of being left out in the cold, right? Well, I'm assuming this is Valhalla because they're drinking out of the horns, right? And it's interesting because one is the shadows and the other one is the sun. It's left out of this Nine of Cups energy. It's also interesting though because I feel like I did a read recently, or like the last time. Um, the last time I did a read, it was an energy of like the thing that we most truly desire is going to be met. And sometimes because of what we've experienced or gone through, or because of our opinion of ourselves, we may want things that we don't think we actually deserve. And so, really, like our deepest desire is not necessarily what we think it is. If there's something internal that like would keep us from being able to, I want to say like wish for it in earnest. All right. So first we're gonna get. Actually, I'm gonna give this a few shuffles. Psych. I'm literally kidding. Oh, this one. I don't want to take it. The Page of Swords and the Three of Cups come out. Hey, these are two like cards that are less dark. But I want to give this a few shuffles, and I kind of want to pull the top and bottom. Um, or not. We'll see. Like one card. I'm only going to take one. Unless there's two. If there's two cards, the first card I get is going to be for the person staying. The second card is for the person going. So the first card is the Ace of Cups for the person staying. You can see that glare, but There you go. Ace of Cups. Dude on a boat. Actually, what's interesting about this is under the Nine of Cups is a 10 of shields, and there are boats on that 10 of shields. I saw that when I pulled the cards. Saw that Ace of Cups. It's very interesting. That Ace of Cups also, I haven't gotten the card for the second person yet, the person going. But it's interesting because it feels like the person who stays is actually on their way to Valhalla. Like the boat is going to take them, right? Because there we see the same rune. So for the person going, I told y'all that was Odin, didn't I? All right. One card for the person going, please. It flipped over inside the deck. It's the Page of Wands. And he's literally going. So they're both moving. This doesn't look like winter, though. Both of these have one card. Bottom of the deck is the Lovers. With that moon up there, and if y'all watch Wrestling Around, where we've had the solar eclipse, we're heading through the eclipse tunnel. It culminates in the full moon Taurus lunar eclipse. There's a full moon on the other side of that portal as he's carrying her up the stairs. With him carrying her up the stairs, there's this energy of it's almost like the feminine aspect is like intuition. Masculine aspect is like action, right? So it's almost like, not almost like, it is a time to act. It's a time to act. It's a time to do. It's a time to move. Like both of these cards convey a sort of movement. The Page of Wands is sort of standing still, but to me, it feels like he's moving, whether by land or by sea. It looks like if we move through the element of water, it would be easier because here's this gap or this chasm that he has to cross or make his way across. So let's get our skeletons. If I was feeling extra, whatever, I would use the Antique Anatomy Tarot to clarify these, but we're not. Each card has one character, so they both get one skeleton. Skeleton for this Ace of Cups, please. Ace of Cups, Ace of Cups, Ace of Cups. Maybe. We got another shuffle. Yeah. These little cards. I was trying to read the little Santa Muerte book, but it is tiny. It's already a small deck. After I do this, I'll go and I'll read the books just to see what the flavor of the books are like. Okay. Ace of Cups, where are you going? Hello? There we go. Oh, 2 cards. Oh, that's not the... They both flipped over and went inside the deck. The first card is the Ten of Wands. And it looks like the pelvic bone, I think. I don't know what this is. Like I assume that's the pelvis, right? The second card is the Eight of Pentacles. Let's see if anything else flipped over. I think it was just those two. Ten of Wands, Eight of Pentacles. I'm surprised this didn't come out under the Page of Wands. Because it has like this endurance training, pelvic radar. It feels like it has this endurance training element to it. Or it's very like it builds character. It builds character. There's also a moth in this Ten of Wands. There's this like red castle at the bottom too. What's interesting is though, if that is the pelvis, and it is, you would almost expect for it to be more orange rather than red. And so while it is this that like it builds character type of energy, there's also this like lift with your legs energy. It's like instead of like using your back or whatever, you're supposed to like use your legs because that's what they're anatomically for, right? That's why our primordial ancestors who first came onto the land were like, whatever. I don't know. It's like opposable thumbs will have you try like legs that bend because it'll make a lot of stuff a lot easier. I think also with the Eight of Pentacles too on that, it's like there's a certain energy of like getting acclimated and acclimatized to doing things the like the hard way, the difficult way. And this is the one who stays. This is the one who was injured. So there is like almost a self-induced injury. Because I mean, like if that's the case, it's probably because like you don't know any better, right? Like how old I was when I heard like lift with your legs. I feel like too old. I lifted way too many things, not with my legs. By the time I heard you're supposed to lift with your legs, and then when you lift with your legs, it makes it easier. There's also three elements here because we have fire and earth clarifying water. For the Page of Wands, the Page of Wanderinos, one card would be gorgeous. There's only one skull. There's a skull and a pelvis, so we didn't get the whole body of that one person. Oh, that's two cards. Nope. Oh gosh. Oh, how many cards are you? Oh, it's one card. I thought it was multiple. This just effed me all the way up. It's the Six of Swords, which is another card of movement. But again, see, this is what I said about the other one. When I was like, I feel like this would clarify the Page of Wands because I feel like this should clarify the Six of Swords. Or this should clarify the Ace of Cups because the Ace of Cups is the one that's on the boat, right? This is so almost counterintuitive, because it's like to go on the boat is to do things the hard way. When I was literally just like, it seems like the boat would be the easier route, because if you go by land, like this Page of Wands, there's this chasm that you have to cross. But going by land is actually the easier way. So this is one of those things where, like, it's not that the myth gets it completely wrong, but bottom of the deck is the King of Swords. This King of Swords and energy is interesting though, because this feels like overgrowth, and the king isn't using his sword to like cut it. I mean, you would just assume that a person with a machete and a thicket, like, you use the machete to cut through the bush, right? The King of Swords is also interesting though, because that's the masculine side of the High Priestess. That's the counterpart to the Queen of Cups. And that's what the Lovers card is all about. Under the Lovers is the Emperor, which is like confirming that. Look at the vulnerability that the Emperor has as compared to the Lovers. Because he's less clothed. But that's what the King of Swords is. The king, like the High Priestess, the Queen of Cups part of the High Priestess is very like, my intuition is telling me that this is going to happen. So it gives us an answer. The King of Swords part of the High Priestess is the work that has to be done to reach that conclusion, right? So it's like if you're doing math problems and they're like, show your work, the King of Swords is the work. The Queen of Cups is the answer. And a lot of times we get the answer without knowing what work needs to be done. And so that's where we can get all kinds of lost and confused and think that we're supposed to do one thing, or we think that something will just happen. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. That's between you, yourself, your guides, your creator, and how you use your intuition and discernment and whatever. If you go by the airship, you might encounter other obstacles, though. The energy of obstacle can be quite persistent and pursuant. The Nine of Cups is Valhalla. See, but it feels like, again, and it's not that one is supposed to lead us astray or whatever, because it feels like they both end up eventually where they're supposed to be, right? And there are even like two boats in this. So in the first one, we get the Ace of Cups, and the second one, we get the Six of Swords. They both make it. So I don't think it's necessarily one of those. It's not necessarily one of those like. It's like there are many paths. It's very many paths energy. The one with shadows is the Elhaz. It's the Elk's rune in reverse. Elhaz, which is the Elk's rune in reverse, and the Lafruma healing oracle cards. It's Treadle, but Did I say Lafruma? And the Lafruma Healing Oracle cards, yeah. There's like, since it's associated with the shadows and Elks is protection, there's almost like if we follow the shadow boat, there's a certain level of vulnerability that is required. It's to forego protection in some way. But again, it feels like the protection isn't necessarily spiritual. The protection feels more like comfort in a certain routine that is clearly a little bit more of a hassle than it's worth. Maybe not more hassle than it's worth, but it's like there's an easier way to do it. There's an easier way to go about it. The other one was East, which is the Self. This Page of Wands, just on their own merit, because this is the one that walks, right? It's like they find their way. And I am actually going to pull the mini paths. I'm going to pull before and after the mini paths card. Before the mini paths card is going to be the one who waits again. After the mini paths card is going to be the one who moves. I think there's also, oof, I don't know why I want to say refractory period. The one who waits is like recovering. But I think another thing is, because I don't know if the one who finds help. Who are you? The Wind. I don't know if necessarily like the one who finds help is gonna make it back in time. 63 Wind, but with the Heart of the Sky, number 6 at the bottom of the deck. A 6 and a 9. The Moon is there behind the Heart of the Sky, and the Time Master is behind the Moon. I love the Time Master with the Moon, because the Moon this is one of the ways that time is kept. Phases of the Moon. But anyway, two cards diverged in a wood. Let's do 2 more. Oh. Number 54, number 49, the Sweat Lodge and Soul Retrieval. Bottom of the deck is Taming the Wind. So the wind that just came out with the Time Master, the Moon, and whatever that other card was. Here's Taming the Wind at the bottom of the deck with the Sweat Lodge and Soul Retrieval. Again, it's like, I don't know if I mentioned it, but it's like there's something that you learn on the journey, or there's something that is proven, which is why the Valkyrie takes you to Valhalla. It's also interesting because I was like, is this Fimbulvinter? Fimbulvinter is the great long winter, the unceasing winter that leads up to Ragnarok. Valhalla is where those who are deemed worthy wait for Ragnarok, but it's like, there are 2 different ways to wait for Ragnarok to come. One is with the sigil of the sun, the other one is with the sigil of shadows. And again, since we live on Earth, we experience both day and night. So it's not necessarily super like cut and dry, right? Because there may be some like Nine of Cups, Valhalla areas and aspects of life, and there may be some like shadowy Five of Pentacles areas and aspects. Let's see. I'm looking for Taming the Wind, Magic, and the Council. 55, 33, and 11. 55, 33, 11. Taming the Wind, Magic, and the Council. The only card missing is like 77, and this deck doesn't have a 77. I'm pretty sure. 3 master, and they're like odd master numbers too. But since they're double digit master numbers, they get made even. I don't know. Anyway, we're looking for mini paths. Mini paths. Mini paths. Please. Mini paths. Mini paths. Mini paths. Oh, come on. I was trying to somewhat make it easy. I mean, it would be easier if I just like put them on the table, but. So the first one I see is going to be the Sorcerer. Number 48 is the one who waits. Many paths, number 34. And then the corn. Behind the corn is the sun. In front of the sorcerer is the witness. This is interesting because the last time I used this deck, I wanted the corn to come out, but it didn't. And now it did. Ghost Dance 22 was at the bottom of the other half of the deck. Or it was at the bottom of the deck. So the thing about corn, I was thinking about this when I was at work one day. And I saw something on Twitter a minute ago. And it was like, it was something like, I thought I chewed that corn. And it was talking about, because, our bodies don't digest corn. And so, if you look at, poop, sometimes you'll find entire kernels. But it's like, I know I chewed that. So like, why are entire kernels appearing? And that's when I was like, what do these cards mean to me? So this one to me means that there's something that comes out in the excretion process whole. It's like fiber. We put it in our bodies to basically push things through the system. The body isn't designed to break it down. Our bodies aren't designed to break it down. Our bodies do a lot better with meat, with fleshy. Is that a carbohydrate? I guess because they're chained, they're branches, and it's easier for our enzymes or whatever to come in and break off a chain than it is to have these long plant chains, because it's almost like there's no easy way to sort of like go about breaking it down. And so that's why like it just passes right through our bodies. It's the sweat lodge. Excuse me. And it's the sweat lodge because if like all of the chains will get broken off at this wall, right? So it's like if you feed a single chain through the sweat lodge, you're going to go through that sweat lodge step by step by step by step. But if you have the branch chains and like this will pop off and that'll pop off, and then you get these little pieces. But not only is it something that our bodies aren't designed to break down, it's also something that somehow miraculously gets reconstituted within the body. And that's I thought I chewed that part of it, right? So it's interesting that the fiber of corn is actually pushing us along with that Six of Swords. Or it's pushing the Page of Wands along with the Six of Swords. Because that's what fiber is. That's why we ingest fiber. To get things moving. The Sorcerer feels like it almost feels like it overly complicates or it overly intellectualizes. And so it's like because there's this energy. It's like as things pass through the sweat lodge, that goes back to the purification. Of course it does. As things pass through the sweat lodge, they are purified. And there's a lot of like toxins and other things that are removed that are like sweat out, right? But like if it's all chained, then like there are things that break off. There are things that don't go through that purification process. And so this is a lot of catches. Because the work is being done with the Eight of Pentacles, but there's just something that keeps being missed. There's something that never makes it through the sweat lodge. And it's almost like every time, it's like when we go through the sweat lodge and we come out, it's almost like the concentration of that thing increases. It's like the shadows get darker. Those specific shadows get darker because everything else is brought to the light. Right? So the only thing that's left is the darkest of the dark. Because they're what we keep out of the sweat lodge. This is the injured one, the one who stays. And to be fair, that is the Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups is water. The Ace of Cups is like the pure potential of water. It's like the entire realm of water. So there's no real clarity or direction in it. There might not even necessarily be any like flow or movement to it. There may not be any directional flow. Like it can stagnate, it can sort of like whirlpool, it can like ebb and flow like the tides, but like unlike this Six of Swords, like the Six of Swords has direction. The interesting part is, though, that soul retrieval is what awaits us on the other side of the sweat lodge. And it's those retrieved fragments that, like, get us a seat in Valhalla. That's what puts us in the Nine of Cups energy. And again, it's almost counterintuitive because at a certain degree, it's like you would think that focusing on the bright and happy things would get you that bright and happy future. Sometimes, in some ways, yes. But if there are things that keep you from experiencing that, and you refuse to like look at and work through those things, then it's not necessarily going to get you any closer to where you want to be. That's when that attitude or that approach actually becomes a hindrance and a burden. Because again, it's like it keeps something from being let go. And so every time we approach a sweat lodge, it comes back up. Goodbye, strawberry lemonade. This is super interesting because I had a conversation last night. I had a conversation last night with a friend of mine because I'm a very like go with the flow. Like I'm gonna not always, but it's like I'm gonna sit here and wait for something to come to me. And he's the like I'm gonna go out and do something because if you sit and wait, like like nothing is guaranteed to happen. And I came out of that conversation like, you know what? Like, yeah, I could sit and wait for something to come to me, but I feel like it would be at this point in my life, because of what my life has been up until this point in my life, it would be more fun and more exciting to actually like initiate or to go and do something rather than to just like wait for the perfect opportunity or to just like manifest. But today I settled on compromise, you know? I'm gonna go out like let's have this thing that is mine. And then I just like, oh, do, and then like, oh, here you go. It's like if you're like if you have a little play set for like a kid and you have like the little cashier, like you have the cash register and like the little buttons that you push and then the drawer pops out and they're like, here you go. And it's like, no matter how much money, well, depending on the child, I guess, but it's like, no matter how much money you give them, they're going to give you the thing because they don't necessarily have a concept of like what something is worth. Right. And then it's like you're trading paper dollars for plastic items. So is it a fair trade? Probably. Because those things aren't for actual consumption. It's to like imitate something. But anyway, interesting. But either way, Ragnarok is coming. Whether you're on Earth in Midgard experiencing Fimbulvinter or you're in Asgard enjoying your mead and your um, oh, what's the I guess it's like veal, but not veal, mutton. Enjoying your meat and mutton in Asgard, Ragnarok is gonna come, and I feel like I need to look at judgment. So what I'm gonna do is for all of these decks, and then I'm gonna end this. Again, the card before is gonna be the one who waits. I'm gonna look before and after judgment in every single one, and then card after will be, excuse me, the one who ventures out. And again, it's like both paths eventually lead there. And one isn't necessarily any better than another because all of our bodies are different. I don't know how like confirmed it is, but I remember when I was in high school taking probably AP Bio. Um, some like we talked about native flora, your gut bacteria, and there are like four different types, maybe more, of native flora. And I was like, oh, so like if someone has bacteria in their gut that'll break down those fibers, then in their body, it won't like those fibrous foods or whatever won't exit their system the same way it exits everyone else's body because there's something within them that can actually digest the indigestible. And so there's something that they can like use for fuel and like get energy out of that just passes right by other people. And so it's like if your body, like if you don't have those, then it's not necessarily beneficial for you to take the corn route. You know what I mean? Or you might not get out of the corn route what somebody else might get out of the corn route. That's why like there are many people, you know, whatever. I'm not gonna shuffle it as the deck is looking for number 20 judgment. Looking for number 20, judgment. I should really. Yeah, I'm just going to put these down. This is quicker. Some of these Roman numerals are kind of hard to see, though. Oh, so the Empress is the one who waits. I mean, accurate, right? She's sitting there. Ooh, look at here. 7 of Shields. I mean, it's the T-wise, I think, rune. She's got a baby and the spinning wheel. Is that Mama Norn? And then after is the King of Cups, who is also sitting. After the King of Cups is the Four of Swords. Was that a Viking funeral? Hola, Matthew. No way we can. I mean, it's what Midgard needs, you know? So Baldur might be cool in Hell with Hell, and Hell might be cool with Baldur, but Midgard needs its light. So I don't know. Otherwise, Fimbulvinter is just going to go on forever, you know? That warming light that thaws the earth, that brings that springtime renewal, will never come. And we're in Scorpio season, the season of rebirth. You know, we kind of need the birth part of that rebirth, or everything just stays dead. But technically, to answer your question, maybe not, you know? Visitation rights? I mean, but then you basically have Persephone. And you know how that worked out for the Greeks. Maybe it works for them. Maybe it, I don't know. So, judgment is number 20. Ooh, the King of Cups. The King of Cups was in reverse in this deck. That's like the only card that's in reverse too. And what's interesting is I'm pretty sure I haven't seen the King of Cups. Like I kind of looked at like a handful of these cards. Pretty sure the King of Cups was not one of the cards that I saw. So for him to be in reverse in this deck is a little like, wait. So before judgment is the Four of Wands. So we have the Empress and the Four of Wands. This one's a little lighter. Under judgment is the Four of Pentacles. King of Cups, Four of Pentacles. That's a little oof energy. That's the one who ventures out, right? 10 of Swords is under that Four of Pentacles. And the Knight of Pentacles was before that Four of Wands. And the King of Cups was in reverse in this deck. This is like, so but that was this. I was like, I feel like this should go here. I'm gonna do Temperance is under the King of Swords, which is interesting because Temperance was under that Emperor. So what was at the bottom of the deck? Whatever the card was at the bottom of the deck, it was that card and then the Emperor. And then Temperance in the other deck. And then there's the Ten of Swords. Okay. Looking for judgment. Oh, okay. So before judgment is the Chariot. After judgment is the moon. This is Pisces. Yeah. The moon and the hanged man are the two cards after judgment. And the sun and the chariot were the two cards before. I'm actually going to take both of these because then we have the sun and the moon. The moon with the hanged man, the sun with the chariot. But the hanged man is like the perfect, and then the six of wands is under that with justice behind that. And Santa Muerte, number 13. Anyway, like it feels like the chariot is perfect for the sun, and it feels like the hanged man is perfect for the moon, because the moon is all about introspection and stuff like that, right? Just like the sun is about expression, projection, action. So the masculine element is masculining, the feminine element is feminining. We have a Bjarkin. I was like, where's the rune? So the Empress is coming out with Bjarkin, which is like birth, right? The King of Cups is coming out with what do you call it? Like a bind rune? I forget. Like Russ, he made one and he was talking about it. That was a hot second ago now. There are like also dolphins in the sky. So, I mean, clouds are like a certain percentage of water. So why not? But it looks like it's a combination between Three Saws and Gebo. Right? Yeah. No, Wunjo. Wunjo and Gebo, because it's like at the top. Oh, look! It's 7 and 8. They're right next to each other. Boom. Some of these. About entering the workforce again. Well, I hope it goes well for you. I hope you find the perfect work environment. You get a nice work life balance. You get compensated fairly and abundantly. And that you have work that you enjoy, because that's always a pleasure. Or it makes work a little less dreadful when you enjoy what you do. You know, they say that when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Three Saws is the portal rune, right? Come on, just give me the runes. Give me the runes. Oh, here we go. Nope, there we not go. No. The cards, the runes, and the gods. Major Arcana, that's why. Burkano. Are y'all not gonna tell me what these runes are? Y'all really just gonna list them out like that? Table of the Runes. Thanks for the table. Is it in the back of the book? Your first reading. Wow, really? So I know like Jifu. That's Needle. They really just like provide a table. Like they don't even give me like the traditional rune meanings in here, like at all. The meanings of each rune unfold on multiple layers. As a sacred alphabet, the runes are a steady device we can use to transform our lives. The Elder Futhark is the traditional Elder Futhark. They give me the names, but that's it. Unlock the meanings for 78 cards. You give me for the 78 cards, but you can't give me the runes. I guess we're gonna have to intuit for real, huh? I mean, I guess if I go to the actual card, it'll probably say. I'm over here doing it the hard way. Let's go to our King of Cups, the King of Horns, if you will. You don't have to, but if you will. The image description: a ruler with slightly blonde hair sits on a curved throne. The same patterns that appeared on the Queen's chair are repeated here. They wear green ceremonial clothing with a stole made of fur. They wear an ashen crown made of wood that terminates in many spikes. A silver medallion hangs around their neck. One hand grasps the arm of the throne, while the other hand holds a drinking horn. Two dolphins hang in the air high above. A bind rune appears at the feet of this person. And that's it. A bind rune appears at the feet of the person. Okay, cool. Work. Work. Work, 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 work. Honestly, though, what this is making me think of, like, there's a three dimensionality here to this rune that you don't catch in the 2D, or you don't catch when it's flat. I feel like, no, that was the rapiers, the Two of Swords in the fortune telling cards, and I was like, it can either be a blockage or it can be on the ground. If it's on the ground, you just walk right over them. You know what I mean? But if they're raised, that's when it sort of creates this thing. But it feels like the gabbo is on the ground, and then like a flag next to the golf thing, so you know where the hole is. Up out of the X pops the Wunjo to make it easier to see. Now with the Four of Pentacles here, this is interesting because the mountains are in the back. Mountains representing challenges and obstacles, right? So there's like, this can either be read in the way of like there's a challenge, like this energy has enough awareness to not necessarily have to go through a certain challenge. It's almost like there's nothing that would be gained from going through it. Or it's almost like they try to extract the knowledge, the lesson, the information from the challenge without actually having to go through the challenge. But another way to read it would be like almost like hunkering down before that challenge. And so it never ventures any further beyond. It's like the couple that built a house at the end of the page or at the end of the world or something. And like that's that gap, right? The gap that needs to be crossed. It's like the Page of Wands is like, oh, like I'm never gonna cross that gap, so I'll just build a home here, and this is where I'll live my life. And then maybe they have a child, and that child crosses the gap, and then maybe the child comes back, maybe it doesn't. But the parents, do they ever cross the gap? Who knows? I feel like this just went all the way. Because with the moon and the hanged man, this, I thought that this path would have been easier. But that's like what I was literally just saying. Depending on how your body is, something might work for somebody else much different than it works for you. Something could actually work for you and it doesn't work for anybody else. And maybe you don't know why. Because before I looked before and after judgment, this path definitely seemed like the easier one. But with the King of Cups, the Four of Pentacles, the Moon, and the Hanged Man, it's looking it's looking kind of rough. Because like it's on the boat, right? It's the Six of Swords. It's the one with the directionality to it. But like with the moon, like you can see in the water this reflection, and it almost looks like it's looking very ghastly, as if like she's seeing her own skeleton, which is interesting because she's got flesh. Out of the few cards I've seen in this deck, not too many people have flesh, but she's got flesh. But in the water, it's almost like that's where her skeleton is. And so it's almost like she would see her own death in the water that she's like crossing. And so that might be what gets this energy to bunker down at the Four of Pentacles rather than going through the challenge. Because, like, this is corn, right? So, this is the one that goes straight through the sweat lodge. There's no breaking off, there's no branches, there's no like this path, that path, whatever. It's a straight shot through the sweat lodge, and it's back to back to back to back to back to back. It's not digestible, right? It's not like, oh, we'll take little tiny bite-sized pieces. And so it's almost like with the King of Cups. The King of Cups is this interesting mix between the Queen of Cups and the King of Swords, where it's almost like instead of it being the Queen of Cups where it foresees the result, or the King of Swords where it foresees the process, it's almost like it has this weird mixture of like, it's almost like it only sees the challenges and difficulties ahead. And so it psychs itself out in a way. And then on the top, it's the Empress, it's the Four of Wands, it's the Chariot, and it's the Sun for the one who stayed. Whereas before it was like the 10 of Wands and the 8 of Pentacles, it was like it's like learn to live with your legs. You're making things harder, like much harder than they need to be. It's getting used to doing things the hard way. And it had this energy of like, there are these things that never get purified because of an avoidance. But up here, it's like it's working. So ultimately, at the end of the day, do what works for you. Trust your intuition. Trust your guidance. I didn't need to use an hour of my life to. I'm kidding. Just to say that. But the thing with the Four of Wands is, I don't think this path. It's not that it's not easy either. But it's like there are 4 people here in this Four of Wands. So it's like instead of just like there's this one feminine energy and this one masculine energy, and they pair up. It's almost like you have to like match the couple. And if you get it wrong, then it might not necessarily be harmonious. And I would say that there's a level of um, attention that you have to pay to these couples to know like who's gonna vibe well with who. But it feels like the Empress would just have a knack for it. So it feels like it wouldn't be too difficult for her. Like it feels like the Empress knows chemistry. And not only does the Empress know chemistry, she also knows physics and math and history and all the subjects, right? She's very well educated. And so if she matches two people up, she's not just gonna match them up because like this person's like super light and bubbly and the other person's super light and bubbly, and so like together they'll be really really good when times are great, but when things get difficult they'll both crumble. And it reads as like covering each other's weaknesses, but the weaknesses aren't necessarily like weaknesses, because with the 10 of Wands and the 8 of Pentacles, like yeah you can do stuff the hard way but it gets done. It might be like not lifting with the legs, but the thing moves where it needs to move. It might be difficult, it might wear on the body, but whatever needs to be accomplished gets accomplished. And there are even more people in the Chariot card. Look at all them people. Hold up, wait. Oh, there's 5. I was like, are there going to be like 4 skeletons for the 4 people? I guess the Empress, she's got one too. Oops. And then the Sun is here. The Sun is here, and it's interesting because that King of Swords at the bottom of the deck felt like it wasn't cutting the overgrowth. It's like, why isn't it cutting the overgrowth with that sword? Like, there's a reason for that. See, that's the thing about myths. That's the thing about myths, the historical figures that they're tied to, and then what those people were like actually like. Sometimes, things might be a little exaggerated, or like there are certain characteristics and features that are focused on, and others that are more so omitted. And so the recounting of a person might be very heroic, which leads to a truly magnificent myth. But in real life, it's like, oh, that person had their flaws too. It's like when you find out about Ant-Man and what his original character was like, and you know what I mean? And I barely know about it because I heard somebody else talk about, yeah, like, oh yeah, like OG Ant-Man, like, I was like, what? And they were like, yeah. I don't know why Ant-Man in particular. He's just the one that came to my brain. I've pulled a card before and after. I mean, I guess I already did before and after many paths for this one. I feel like I just need something. Maybe I don't. It's many paths again. Like we're all different. There are gonna be things that work for us in a way that they don't necessarily work for other people. Which is why it feels like there's a certain level of attunement and intunement, I guess, that's gonna be like very vital and very key. Because if like I feel like it's been Scorpio season personally for 3 days, and this is the most roller coaster Scorpio season I feel like I've ever experienced. I'm like, ooh, Scorpio. Like I said, I feel like I'm being like scrubbed and washed, and it's like, okay, I'm ready. And then as soon as like I'm good, I'm like, I'm a Pisces, I can take it. And then you come up for air like, ooh. It's been wild. Oh, snap, it's an AP Dern. Hola. I think there is another energy too here. It's almost like, of course, I want to say Virgo. Um, because Virgo for me, Virgo feels like it's the energy in the background that a lot of people might not necessarily appreciate, but it's like things go as smoothly as they do because of what Virgo does. It's like very like the thankless sort of jobs, you know what I mean? And it's almost like it can be stuff sometimes that like you don't even think that somebody would do. Or like you wouldn't even necessarily think that like somebody does it because you just almost like I don't know if you like grow to expect it or if you just like expect it. And it's like, yeah, but like, did you think that desks came like pre-assembled? Did you think that everything comes pre-assembled? Like, did you not know that some of that stuff you buy in a box in pieces and then somebody has to put it all together? Almost. And the reason why I say it's kind of Virgo, I already forgot, honestly. I got lost on that tangent. Um, I feel like it's to do with this Five of Shields. Oh, it is to do with the Five of Shields because it feels like while the soldiers and the warriors and those that the Valkyrie selected are in Valhalla awaiting Ragnarok, it feels like there's something to be done on Midgard or in Midgard, also in preparation. It's almost like if there was some, I guess it's kind of the Norns in Norse mythology from the little bit I know of Norse mythology. But it's almost like if there are things that if there are challenges and difficulties and hardships that we have to endure, or if there are things that are outside of our control that we're going to go through, like it feels like there's an energy there that's trying to make the process as smooth as possible. Or it's like, that sweat lodge is going to be rough. It's going to be intense. But as soon as you get out, we're going to have like water and we're going to have something for you to rehydrate and for you to reconstitute yourself. And so it doesn't necessarily prevent us from ever experiencing any challenge or difficulty or hardship. But it feels like it's there. I almost want to say like it's there to make it as easy as it can be while still maintaining like the integrity of the challenge, right? It's like if you're taking a test, they're not necessarily going to give you all the answers because then what's the point of taking the test at that point? You know what I mean? They're not necessarily testing your knowledge to write an answer that they're telling you. I mean, maybe there are tests sure where it's like, listen to me say a word and then you spell the word. Spelling tests. Sure. Literally. But that's testing something else, right? That's testing your knowledge or your either your knowledge of how those words are spelled or your knowledge of different like spelling conventions, right? Like I before E except after C, or if you hear a k sound in this language, it's like a CH and not like a CK because that's just how that language is produced. So if it's derived from that language, then like expect it. If it's French, expect a bunch of silent letters to just be strewn about seemingly randomly. This is interesting. because it from this point it feels like some of the reads that have, or it feels like some of the energies that have come out, but this feels like almost more generalized, which is fine because I wanted one general reading instead of going through all 12 zodiacs. So, you know what I mean? Cool. So I'm going to put all these cards back and then we're going to get final cards. I saw an ad last night for some app game. It was like, can you find the 141 words that these 7 letters make? And I was watching the people on the app in the ad do the words, and it was just like it listed them in the order that they entered the word. So it wasn't even alphabetical, so that like if you got A blank 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 and C blank blank blank, and it ain't no A words, it might be a B word because and life can be a B word. They also say karma's a B word. Anyway, um, and it was like, wow, like you don't even give the courtesy of alphabet. That's one thing I don't like about games that make you guess words and they're not in like a logical order. Because after you guess all the words, if you know the order, like it makes it easier to guess words that you don't know. Especially if they pull from multiple languages. It was like I was playing. I think it was the Quirtle. It was the Quirtle like yesterday or the day before, and I had a feeling like the word was Bobby, but I was like, Bobby isn't like that's not a thing. It's a name. And then like Bobby was the word, and they're like, oh, it's like British for a police officer because the person who started whatever's name was Bobby, blah blah blah. Like they're called Bobbies, and I was like, what? Like come on, be fair. How am I supposed to know that? I guess if I were more worldly and cultured, then I would have known. And you only get like 9 guesses, 9 tries to guess 4 words. Anyway. Oh, oof, the witness was left out. I was like, okay, can you talk to me, please? But the witness was still on the table. The witness was on the table as the Valkyries are circling about. You see the Andean cross and the council. Is that 111? It's 211. 11 is a 2. There's the time master again. The time master. Okay. It feels like though there is an energy of an individualization that's kind of sort of happening, but it's an individualization that's happening so that when we come together as like it's an individualization that happens so that the collective overall is stronger. It's like diversifying your immune system, right? And that was that 9 of cups. No, that was like the strength in the 10 of cups that came out before all of that. All right, mystical shaman oracle cards. I mean, I'll give you 3 more if don't nothing like if you don't want to talk, you don't have to talk. You know what I mean? We don't have to force cards out of your veritable mouth. I say as I continue shuffling, and I don't want like 10 cards. You're gonna have to talk. I'm sorry. Say something. Say something, please. You see this? Oh, it's only 2 cards. 2, 2, 3, 5, 6. Where are the fours? 2, 2 is 4. The ghost dance and the arrow with thunder at the bottom of the deck. I immediately want to say like a divine revelation or realization, but I guess if we go back to that weeding, if we go back to that weeding I did a minute ago, the one with the lower world, the blade, the curse, and all that, it's when I was looking at the standstill and the gate of Sahakiel. After we made it out of the lower world, and when we were in between the middle world and the upper world, as soon as the crown touched the upper world, we were able to see that the ghost dance was actually the council. Like that's who those ghosts were. It was the council. But in the lower world, we just weren't able to see it. It's like if you put anything in black and white, no sepias, no grays, just black or white, you lose a whole lot of color. But yeah, this feels like a sudden realization because the arrow was quick. It's also interesting that on this 5 of shields, there are many shields that are pierced by arrows, right? And then we have this arrow piercing what could be shields. But I think that ghost dance can be many things. It can be a divine ancestral, the council in disguise. I feel like disguise is a bit extreme if, right? It's like if you just don't know, it's not really a secret or a disguise, right? That's like that's like finding out that it's like you meet somebody one day and then the next day everyone's talking like, oh my gosh, like this person was in town, like I can't believe this person would like come visit, and like you have no clue who they're talking about, but they're so excited and they show you a picture and like, oh, like I met that person. And then like you're in the picture with the person, they're like, oh yeah, like is that you in the back? You're like, yeah, like I had no clue. Right? It's like it's not necessarily hidden, it's not necessarily a secret, it's just a certain element of ignorance, and there are just like things that we don't know, and it's not bad to not know something, but to remain willingly and willfully and the not know, that's a whole different story that we're not talking about. um, but yeah, it feels like the ghost dance can be like your past or a fear or anxiety. Again, it can be like ancestors, it can be anything. But with this arrow, it feels like there's this sudden realization that comes in that's very electrifying. But it feels like if it's almost like if it's too much, it can like overload the brain. So it almost carries through that energy of the Ace of Cups, or it carries through the energy of any ace, where it's almost like more information than we can possibly handle or process. But the thing about thunder and um, it's not the lightning card, but thunder follows lightning, right? I was going to say thunder precedes lightning, but thunder follows lightning. So what's important is like grounding. If you can ground, then it's like it'll pass through you. And it's like you also want to be mindful of like how you ground, because if it takes the shortest path from sky to ground, you want to make sure that like you don't have any vital organs in its path unless your organs need a supercharge. Because again, different things work for different people. Follow your intuition, guidance, and all that stuff, and you'll find whatever. But I think this arrow card does also sort of imply an alignment since it is like a straight arrow. It's also Sagittarius, so Sagittarius comes after Scorpio. So, I'm going to look around. Ooh, thunder magic. I'm going to look around lightning. Because oh, well, here's lightning right here. The medicine wheel and the sacrifice. 3544. The sacrifice and the medicine wheel are around lightning. The reason why I went looking for lightning is because, like, if the arrow is Sagittarius, I don't know if the lightning happens in Scorpio season, but the thunder is heard in Sagittarius. You know what I mean? I mean, honestly, the lightning could have happened at any point. And then the thunder catches up to us in Sagittarius season. And because it's the ghost dance, I almost want to lean towards that. Because it might be difficult, depending. It might be difficult to pinpoint exactly like when or where the lightning struck. Or like the difference between like the difference between the cause and the perceived resulting phenomena or resultant phenomena. Like, I don't know what that gap is like, but with it being the ghost dance, it feels like it could be very easy to miscalculate or not get necessarily completely right. And so then that energy almost reads as like is this punishment because I cheated on my diet? Like, I ate that cookie and I knew I wasn't supposed to. And it's like, maybe yeah, but also maybe no. Because like this was already set up a long time ago. Like with Fimbulventer, you know, if they're like, if you don't eat your vegetables, then Ragnarok is going to happen. Meanwhile, Ragnarok is happening because Loki tricked Hod into killing Baldur. So what does that have to do with telling children to eat their vegetables or to be good? I don't know. Anyway, that's besides the point. It's fine. If you know me, you know me. If you don't, welcome. I'm a Pisces. I love saying I'm a It's funny. I feel like I love saying I'm a Pisces or like I'm a Taurus moon and rising for as much as I kind of don't like astrology sometimes. It's just fun. Okay. I love it. Ooh, that is the nature of flash photography. But it's almost like one of those holographic images that move when you move it. All right, little Santa Muerte. What do you have for me? Santa Muerte. There we go. The Queen of Wands. This Queen of Wands is feeling a little bit like restraint. With strength at the bottom of the deck, yeah, it's feeling like restraint. It's feeling like restraint because she's holding the candle above the very flammable plants. And I've seen a few of, honestly, at this point, honestly, at this point, I feel like I've seen all of Russ's Eclipse videos, maybe. And I know the last one is the Altar of Indignant Rage. So again, rustling around. I'm pretty sure if you are watching me, you know who he is. But if you don't, or if you didn't know, He's posted videos from the solar eclipse all the way up to the lunar eclipse in 2-day increments with Noel Island right in the middle. But it feels like there's something that we're creating or cultivating, or something that our energy is participating in the birth of. But it's like we want to be careful that we don't set those things ablaze. And that's why she's reading us self restraint, because she's holding this candle up above all of the like the flowers and the greenery. And then strength is here at the bottom of the deck, with the star behind strength and the hangman behind that and the emperor behind that. With this whole run of majors, the star, our strength, the star, the hanged man, the emperor. I feel like this, like, because strength is Leo and Leo rules the sun. There's like, it's not necessarily like the sun and the star, but there's this like, you want to be close enough to warm it, but not so close that you burn it. You want to be far enough that, like, basically it's like you want to be far enough that you don't incinerate it, but you don't want to be so far that like it freezes. And so there's like this very clear happy medium, and this is very much so Akranar, Akamar, the son of Apollo, Eridanus, the one who pulled the chariot. It wasn't Typhon. I'm like 99% sure it wasn't Typhon. But he came out. It was like he wasn't strong enough to pull Apollo's chariot, and Apollo knew he wasn't. But his sisters and his sisters and his mom wore down Apollo, and so Apollo was like, "Okay, you can drive the chariot." And at first, he drove the chariot of the sun too far that like the earth froze, and then it was way too close, and it was burning the planet. And Zeus was like, "This is ridiculous," and threw a thunderbolt at him, and it killed him, and he fell into the river dead. Eridanus. Speaking of those who die, Baldur. Anyway, it's almost that energy. Like it's not too close, but it's also not too far. And then we have the hanged man and the emperor. The hanged man almost being like the one who doesn't do anything, and then the emperor being the one who very much so like is in charge. And again, like it's another sort of sweet spot energy. So yeah, there's like this perfect, maybe it's finding this level of almost engagement. If the queen of if the high priestess is indeed made up of energies of the queen of cups and the king of swords, it's finding a balance between, and I guess I'll take that as a personal message, because like I said, like I had such a strong feeling, and it was an irony that I realized last night too, mind you. The irony of the whole thing was not lost on me. Um, but I had a feeling that, because I found out in February that by the end of the year I wouldn't have a job. Um, but I had a feeling like something would happen that would influence the decision that I make. I didn't know when, I didn't know what it would be, but I just had a feeling, and I've had that feeling before, but I had a feeling that something would happen that would influence my decision. So I was like, I'm not going to look too hard. And then I found out what that thing is. And then last night, it was this whole like I appreciate the guidance and I appreciate the security, and deeply knowing that there is something and that there will be something. But right now, what's the most fun and the most exciting and the thing that I've done the least is being proactive, is going up and like, or is going out and like, I want to do this and then doing it, rather than like trying to feel out like what is next, what's the next right thing. And so like the going out and doing is the king of swords, the feeling and like magnetizing is like the queen of cups. ish in the High Priestess. But with the Queen of Wands, again, like there's this perfect sort of sweet spot between the acting, actioning, doing, and the receiving, intuiting. It's just like, and if we're co-creators, then we play in the space of co-creation, right? Sweet spot. There's a balance. Next, we'll go for the deck of heroes. I wanted to read some of these cards. We got the Ace of Cups and the Page of Wands. So let's see. Oh, that was the Ace of Swords. Here we go. Darn it. Ace of Cups, upright. An emotional beginning, often related to love or friendship that is happy and fulfilling, commonly an action on one's part rather than a passive approach, as opening up and taking a chance are quite often found to be at the heart of a new relationship. And then the Page of Wands. Oh, I didn't even notice we went from a page to a queen. This often reflects a tremendous passion and zest to experience life. They are almost always gracious and friendly, good listeners, and have a magnetism to their personality that extends to and fulfills others around them, drawing others willingly into their world. Often daring, they push to feel more and are often known to be addicted to the adrenaline rush bound with risk, leading to even greater risk without noble purpose. I like that, like pushing to feel more on one side with the emotional beginning of the Ace of Cups. So again, it could be a mixture of both. There was like the light and the sigil, there was the shadow and the shadow. Maybe there are some light elements, areas, Nine of Cups, and there are some Five of Pentacles. It's like, well, I got Nine of Cups over here, and I got Five of Pentacles over here, and I'm trying to figure out how to make this Five of Pentacles over here like that Nine of Cups over there, so that if everything is coming at Nine of Cups, then I only need one cup to get the Ten of Cups. The Ten of Cups that came out with the Strength card. That's this book. I think I read one. I think it was the Page of Wands that came out. I was just like shuffling. Was I shuffling and it came out? Or did I just like open the book to read a page to see what the book was like? Either way. I was like, oh, I like that. Honestly, court cards a lot of times still kind of get me. Where I'm like, and I know like court cards like symbolize actual people, but I feel like I seldom read them that way. I don't know. Who knows? So, okay. Oh, how many cards is this? Oh, that's way too many. Look at all these cards. Ace of Swords is there, though. Look at the butts in this deck. Okay. Airman. Oh, snap. Oh, the wacky flailing arm inflatable tube man. Wacky inflatable arm inflatable tube man. Or whatever. Okay. Oh. Like 2 cards at the most, maybe, but 1 card would be lovely. I hate to be like, I'm only going to take 1, but, let's keep it concise because, thank you. Oh, no, I should have just stopped shuffling. I got 2 cards. Oh, no, see. The Fool. It didn't fall all the way out. This is an interesting Fool. What I love about this Fool, though, because the Fool is usually like taking a leap, right? That leap of faith. And we saw the Page of Wands, but in this Fool, it's like there's no leap. It's literally the next step. And you don't even have to do anything except stay on the horse. Low key though, it does look like this horse is like, um, you gonna tell me where we're going, or that's another poem by I'm pretty sure it's Robert Frost. Whose woods these are, I think I know. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a village near. Or is it farmhouse? The bottom of the deck is the King of Pentacles. Looking very Herculean. I love the green and gold. These don't have green in them. I feel like I read something that mentioned it was this King of Cups, I think, with the green robes and the fur stole. Yeah, it was the Queen of Cups that had the King of Cups that had the green. What cards came out? Oh, it's only 2 cards. I thought it was like 3. Like, there was this, my mom doesn't even remember it. I'm like, how do you not remember it? Because I have an aunt who like went back to school and she had to analyze that poem, and she asked my mom for help, and my mom asked me to help her. So we're reading this poem, and we had to, come up with what it might mean. And that's why it like sticks in my brain, because like, and my mom was like, I don't remember doing that. I'm like, sure, I just blipped into a different universe where we didn't have that. Honestly, though, there are a lot of things that my mother and I have different recollections of. It was farmhouse. Okay, I thought it was farmhouse, but like village, I was like farmhouse. But I guess they left the village, so it wouldn't make sense to like you know what I mean. Also, to stop without a farmhouse near, just like yeah. So we have the Ace of Pentacles with the Moon. This is why. This is why, like, I feel like this horse doesn't know where to go. The person on the horse is like, because like the whole Ace of Pentacles is here, but then we have the Moon. I did that backwards. Because I was gonna say, look, there's an Ace of Pentacles in the Moon card. See, look, it happens again. It happens again. That Ace of Pentacles is across this chasm. It happened with the Page of Wands. It's happening with this Ace of Pentacles. And the person's like, the Ace of Pentacles is right there. I can see it, but I don't know how to get there. And because the thing about the Fool was that, like, you don't have to take a leap. Like, there's no cliff in this Fool card. And looking at the Ace of Pentacles, if you only focus on the Pentacle, you might not necessarily see that there's an entire pathway back here under this gate of Sahakiel that leads you right to the Ace of Pentacles. So instead of trying to see if you can hop over that, just. And so the Moon card is like, maybe it's twofold. Because number one, we might not realize that, hey, like there's a paved road to this. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can if you want. Because maybe the way that you invent the wheel will get something that the other, whoever invented it, didn't get. But also, like, it's like that is a moon energy, but this is also a moon energy, because it's like, well, how do we get there? Is this a Fata Morgana? I think this is a Fata Morgana. And the moon, we see the castle in the distance. I don't remember which video the Never Short Mystic did, but she was like, "What's that word that Patrick's always like talking about?" And I was watching it after it was live. I was like, "Fata Morgana, Fata Morgana." Castles in the sky. It's also weird how, like, because, like, the moon is cut off by this thick layer of whatever, but the castle is, like, above that layer. So, again, it makes me think of the smoky mirror in the mystical shaman oracle cards that came out in the middle world, and it was like it's above the middle world or it's rising out of the middle world, and as soon as the crown touches the upper world, it's like that's when we can see the ghost dance as the council. So why would the King of Pentacles be? I mean, I feels like the King of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck is like there's a practical sort of way to go about it. It's almost like it's not as I don't want to say magical. It's not as mysterious as we might think it is. It's like it's actually very simple. You see, this door, it's a pull door, and you've been pushing. But when you pull it, oh my gosh. And that's funny because at work, um, there was someone who was going to like, so this is what I saw. I saw him punch in the code on the keypad, wait a second, and then like open the door. Like he pulled down on the thing, on the handle, and then opened the door. And he was like, that's how you check to make sure it's not a push door. And meanwhile, I'm like, I didn't even see you like try to push the door. I don't know why you were just standing there holding the door handle. And then he pulled it because he pushed it. I didn't even know he pushed it. I was like, I guess I wasn't paying that much attention. But another thing with the King of Pentacles is that, like, being the king of the suit of earth, there's a level of it's that like intunement that came out somewhere before. That again, it's like, and it's the Ace of Pentacles. So if anyone's going to know how to get to the Ace, it's probably going to be the King or Queen, or the King and Queen. So it's firmly within his domain. But because the moon is what the moon is, or because the moon is what we see the moon as a major, it's probably one of the more opposed to Earth Pentacles energy. And I guess you could argue that the High Priestess might be another one because she's super like. I was in this metaphysical store that is owned or co-owned and co-run by this very like self identified pagan guy. And there's this lady in there. I mean, you know, he's not just pagan, but anyway, there's this lady in there. She was like, yeah, there was this one girl, or there was this one person I worked with who was kind of hokey. And she would wear like crystals in a bag, but I never knew what crystal she had. And I was like, oof. I mean, I don't know if this is necessarily, you know, it is what it is, but I was like, ooh, not hokey. Not putting the left arm in and taking the right arm out. But anyway, last but not least, we have the runic tarot to put away, and it has been 2 hours. And at this point, I probably could have just went ahead and did the signs, but it's fine because we all have our own journeys and our own processes, and even to boil it down to 12 signs could be whatever. I don't know. I was tired, okay? I waited too late, and that's that. Well, I didn't necessarily wait too late because I didn't have the idea until like just now. Whatever is supposed to happen, it happens, okay? I keep seeing this Ace of Horns card. And the Ace of Horns made me think of, because, like, I don't know if it's Gallarhorn or Yallarhorn, but it's the horn that Heimdall has that signals, like, Ragnarok, right? That it's like it's begun, that it started. And so the suit of water, almost like thunder and lightning, it's almost like, since water is the cups, or the cups are the horns, it's like it signals something. And it makes me think of the last time I used the Tarot Apocalypsis, and there was the Liar. So that was probably the same. I don't know if it's when Eridanus, was it after Eridanus came out? And I was like, let's look at these stars with the kin, the Wacken, and the Wickecraft, the one kin, two kin, three kin, where it was like, I already forgot. I dragged out that tangent too long. I need to stop. I'm too tired to try to do so many tangents. Yeah. I'm sure you are, Matthew, where you can watch whatever you want. Pause and come back. I'm just playing. I'm kidding. It might happen. Why was I talking about that? I already forgot. It's fine. It's fine. Like I don't even remember what I literally just said. Or why I was saying it. Oh, I feel like I almost remembered. I feel like I almost remember. No. Wheel of Fortune. Oh, Wheel of Fortune at the bottom of the deck. Ooh. Oh, the Liar. It was like, because I looked it up, and the Liar was strummed like a guitar and not plucked like a harp. And then the cards in the Tarot Apocalypses was like, play the Liar. And that's when I was like, so you're telling me we're supposed to strum this thing like a guitar, and not carefully and delicately and very, very, very intentionally? Not that there is a lack of intentionality when it comes to guitar playing, but like you're telling us to like do all that. Like what? I don't remember like why that's what I was going to in that video, but that energy just came up apparently because that's where my brain went. Like we're supposed to have fun, but also, like be responsible. There are responsible ways to have fun. Y'all know how we just saw the king. This happened. Well, no. Yeah, well, no. That was before this. The Queen of Pentacles has appeared. The King of Pentacles was at the bottom of the deck of heroes. And here the Queen of Pentacles has made her appearance known, her presence known, with the 8 of Shields. The Shield Makers. Oh. Speaking of the 1 kin, 2 kin, 3 kin. Because there's the 1, and then the 2, and then a 3. Apparently. I just cracked the code for you. There you go. I'm just playing. Is that the 8? The 8 of Pentacles came out with the 10 of Wands. Oh! Because the cups are horns. That's why it took me to the Liar. Because the cups themselves signal and signify something. And so it's almost like, since it is the element of connection, and like it expands out to like the divine and that which exists in the non-physical, it's energetic. It's like it's a frequency vibration match thing. The energy and motion emotion that we put out is a signal that attracts something. And then it's like things, sort of like how DNA is assembled, right? You have your codons and then your anticodons, and your tRNA or whatever RNA goes out and it finds the amino acid that corresponds to that codon, and then boom 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 boom, you build out the protein. And in pieces and in sections, like it does its folding and its conformations and stuff like that, right? That's why I started talking about the lyre. It's because it feels like the horns being the cups being the horns, it signifies something. I got there eventually, thankfully. Thank you, Holly. Um, it's also interesting that not every shield has a rune. Number one, and number two, both the student and the master are working on shields, and the shields that they're working on are very similar to each other, but very, very different than the shields on the wall. Like they both have the wheel of those symbols, right? You can see the masters in the back and the students in the foreground. But of all the ones up on the wall, none of them have that. And because that came out, I have to pull the Mausolea Oracle of Souls, because it uses those symbols. If it's Vanth again, you know what? I welcome Vanth. Let me see if I can find them. Not everyone, not most of them, not any of them, question mark. Are you serious? I really thought I've seen these are in a deck that I have. I mean, it could be the Yggdrasil Norse divination cards, but no, because those are different. I pulled the deck out, so I'm going to end with this. It's interesting. This Eight of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck with the Queen of Pentacles, though. The eight, like this Eight of Pentacles, carries an energy of like what you're working on now is unlike anything that you've ever like worked on before. It's like nothing that has been done before. And again, it's this procession of like, if Lagu is water and cosmic flow, it's like it's more and more open to more and more streams, to the point where it feels like it's a very bind rune energy, but not necessarily, because like it's putting these different symbols on the same shield, but it isn't necessarily overlaying them. So what it's making me think of is the round table. It's making me think of that Ten of Cups. It's making me think of that we're individualizing so that we're a stronger, more diversified, more capable collective, rather than everybody doing the same thing and specializing in the same thing and everything being sort of gray. And that goes back to that Four of Wands, where it was like the Empress had a sense of not only like a couple that would be good together, but the couples that could support each other when support was needed, rather than it's like one person gets stressed and then the other person is stressed and then the whole world falls apart. You know? What's that energy again? Oh, speaking of LO, well, I'm sure I saw it subconsciously, whatever. There's a bind rune on her shield. And if this will focus, you'll notice that her shield is very much like the ones that the master and the student are crafting. There you go. Come on. Keep the focus, keep the focus, keep the focus, keep the focus. Boom. You see it? I mean, of course, you're not going to give one of these basic shields to the queen of shields, right? Like hers has to be a little ornate. And then the five of shields is behind this eight of shields. And with the five of shields leading to the eight of shields, like it's like that's how weaponsmithing and armor smithery sort of progress. Like, right, if there's a new weapon, there has to be a new armor to counteract that weapon. So something that might have protected us in a previous sort of like period of history or of our own lives might lose its effectiveness as we continue to rise, right? And so it's almost like, of course, my brain goes to like coping mechanisms and stuff like that. It's like if they no longer provide us whatever they used to provide us. There was a book in the store. The title was like, Why Cope When You Can Heal? And maybe if the coping isn't working anymore, it's because not that a healing is necessary, but it's almost like you're ready for the healing. Because, like, it's like we cope when we don't have the capacity to even begin to understand or approach something that is very challenging and difficult. But when we have the capacity and the wherewithal and the language and the ability to, then we can heal it so that it can be let go. And again, it's making me think of, I mean, the five of shields there, it's making me think of the sweat lodge. And like every time we go through the sweat lodge, there are these things that don't necessarily make it through. And so we just continue to carry it with us rather than for it to be truly released. I'll read the Queen of Pentacles. It's elks and kin. Is it elks and kin, or is it elks and Lagu, or is it elks, kin, and Lagu? Is that also, are you one of the base Elder Futhark runes? You are not one of the base Elder Futhark runes, but you are a Lafruma healing oracle, speaking of the moon, Kusma. I think it's still called Kusma on her shield. Like, is this elks, but also like a Lagu. And the Lagu is interesting because like that's the rune that they were working with before. And they got the Lagu, they got like two Lagu stacked on top of each other. And then they started like branching out, right, into these different designs. And so it still maintains that, but that's interesting. It's almost like there's this torrent of like a purifying water with that. Anyway, let's weed this weed. Let's weed this queen. Let's weed this queen. Queen of Shields, there you are. A Viking leader sits on an ornate throne. They rest their hands on the arms of the throne, a gesture that shows their openness. They wear a long green gown. There's the green gowns are a thing apparently today. They wear a long green gown and have ornate beads decorating the clasps to their fur coat. Green and fur, apparently today. They have an orange and red crown. Their throne has snakes wrapped together in it. Trees bear green leaves and oranges overhead. The shield lays near the Viking's feet. The bind rune appears on the shield. What's interesting about these orange fruits are, for some reason, it's making me think of the Ten of Wands in the Santa Muerte that was red. It was a red pelvic bone, and it was like, shouldn't it be orange? Because orange is like the color of the sacral, right? And red is the color of the root. I don't think I fully like talked through that whole little conversation in my brain, or like, because it happened in my brain, but I don't think I actually said it. I think I briefly mentioned it, but I was like, what does that mean? As far as like, if the second chakra is red, then like, is the first chakra absent? Does it push all the colors up? You can see why I probably didn't, because it would have been a whole thing, right? The Queen of Shields has the responsibility of knowing how to care for themselves and others. This is a person who enjoys the fruits of the world, as seen by the oranges in the trees. They rely on their wisdom and instinct to help direct others to get their needs met. The Queen of Shields would rather defend the land than do battle against others. They live close to the earth and they pay attention to the needs of those in the clan. Upright, this is self care direction for helping others, a caregiver mentality, someone you can trust. Elemental attributions are earth, natural power, roots, origin, sense of identity, and water, spiritual power, inner strength, surging of emotions. If there's one thing that Scorpio can do with surge emotion, if there's one thing Pisces can do, it's escape emotion, escapism. We're not ruled by Neptune for no reason. Right, Pisces? Y'all get it. You don't have to be a Pisces to get it. Escapism is something that we all do. See, the thing about coping and healing, it was like the time for coping was over. It's time to get this healed. Very Oxynate times. And it's funny because Oxynate has been something that's been like fluttering around with that Fata Morgana and the Oxynate. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's gorgeous, but like, oh my gosh, it is rough. We'll see how it unfolds. You might see, you might not see. I might see, I might not see. You know, who knows? Since you came to my mind, apparently, with your symbols and sigils that are not on those shields, but I really thought I saw. I feel like I can see it in my brain, but it might not be a deck that I actually have. But anyway, oh, face down. Okay. El Shaddai, the Radiant Lord, wisdom, paternalism, and kindness. There's that wisdom again. I think this is the first time El Shaddai has popped out. Okay. With Hathor, Mistress of Harmony at the bottom of the deck. Mediation, communication, and culture. Okay. Well, let's see. Let's see. El Shaddai, there you are. The Radiant Lord, a shining god of wisdom and kindness. El Shaddai and the court of the Elohim represent the inclination towards good in mortals and in Mausolea. As such, he is the balance of Abaddon and has the respect and awe of all, including the other gods. In El Shaddai, find the beneficial aspects of the devoted father figure, a source to turn to when seeking the most correct and wisest course in any proposed action. There was something in here. The inclination towards good, it's interesting because it said the Queen of Pentacles would rather like defend the land and nurture people than like go to battle. And so, because I remember referencing the altar of indignant rage with the Queen of Wands, because the plants need heat to not freeze. They need light to help them photosynthesize. But if it's too hot and if the light is too bright, then they might either dry up or burn. And so she had it there, but it was like raised above the plants. And that made me think of the altar of indignant rage. And so it's almost this energy of like of channeling, but not necessarily channeling in the hokey way of channeling. Channeling in the way of like finding an outlet for certain emotions, right? So it's like it's almost like instead of like worrying about things that you can't control, or instead of like falling into a sense of powerlessness, focus on the things that you can do and just contribute to what you care about in any way that you can, right? Every little bit helps. Everything gets us closer, especially when we're interacting with other people, because kindness is something that can really spread amongst humans and humanity. One kind word, deed, or action to one person could very well inspire them to, within the same day or for the rest of their lives or at another point in time, to share that kindness with somebody else. It's a very pay it forward type of energy. It's a very like Encanto, at the end of Encanto type of energy, where it's like, you've done so much for so many other people. Now that you are in need, like, let us help you. And it's interesting that the Five of Pentacles was there. But it's almost like there also needs to be an openness and a willingness to receive that help. And the Queen of Pentacles was open. The book literally said she's open. The way she's seated on this throne implies openness and that she's in a space to receive. It's very beautiful. Speaking of co-creation and like tweaking our like masculine and feminine contributions aspect, yin yang dynamic. It's a very Ool energy, almost, not necessarily, but in the Ool process. Oh, come now. Come now. Where are you? I literally just... Every time I want to find this thing, I can't find it. And then as soon as I end the video, it's just there. Maybe it's like, this video was already long enough. Just end it. And I'm like, no, because I want to show this. Here it is. Speaking of green, I haven't used this thing in a while. So if you've forgotten what the Ool cycle is, it's Brahmflusse 12 Ool, apparently. Brahmflusse 12 Ool. But I actually... What was I doing? This is when I was getting into geomancy. That didn't last long. It did. It had its moments, but then it didn't. Maybe I should get back into it. Oh, snap. I have, I don't know if it was it had to be in the collective rune raking part, because I have the ash rune here. I drew it out and I was going to start like scripting like Reem. All I have is rise and fall, birth and rebirth, building after destruction. We're in Scorpio season now, and again, the ash rune, that's the Tulagu. Tulagu is the ash that was on the shield in the upper, I think, right corner of that card. So it's interesting to see it right here. On the, like, see this X on this page? On the other side of that page is the ash rune. Oh, here it is, literally on the other side of the same page. Let's see if I can show this. Alfhamer Sparks of Famer. See that? It's how the yin yang like moves or whatever. I thought it was a little bit more complete than what it actually is in here, but all of that happened in my brain. So just like the whole conversation about the pelvic bone being red instead of orange and how that shifted all of the or affected all the energetical centers, which is interesting because I do remember the supercharge coming out with the arrow, the ghost dance, and then thunder at the bottom of the deck. Anyway, thank you, Matthew and Epdern and Holly, for being here. It's been 2.5 hours almost. This was so interesting. And it's interesting because it's like, I feel like I literally could have pulled the many paths card and been like, take yours. But still, it was nice. It was fun. I like these. So, no problem. I hope you all have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. And if Scorpio is dragging you through the mud, and Scorpio is pulling you left and right and up and down, showing you its deep sea horrors. If Scorpio is showing you its deep sea horrors, then Scorpio probably likes you. If Scorpio is like, like feeding you to its deep sea horrors, then Scorpio loves you. And it's very demented and sick Scorpio way. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I love Scorpio. It's just been like intense. I'm like, oof, okay, all right. But it's been beautiful at the same time too. And honestly, like I feel like is it the past 24 hours? Maybe the past 48. Like we're literally just in the Scorpio season. So since Scorpio season started, I've already been like really high, kind of low, and then petered out. But after I petered out earlier today, I was like, I feel like that super quick, like boom, 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 happened because something is about to come up and I need to say yes to it. Like it's like I can wait or procrastinate and I can be like, well, like let me think about it, but the opportunity might pass. And like what's for me is gonna be for me, yeah, sure. But if I could take something on the first go around, I want it. I want to take it. And I was like, man, I feel like something is about to happen and I need to be like, yeah. Cause that was one of the things I had to work through. And I briefly talked about it. Like I've experienced a lot of contentness. I've been very content, but I had like a happiness trigger almost in a way, and I was like, "Whoa," because that was big for me. Again, I've talked about it before. That used to be one of my like biggest triggers. Was like being happy. So you can imagine how fun life was for me. Anyway. I'm like, okay, Scorpio. It can be bitter medicine, but I'm trying to get better. I am getting better. Because as soon as I kick this cold, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to play and I'm never coming back inside. So if you don't see me, know that either the cold got me or I'm outside. And I am one with nature and there's no technology in the middle of the woods. I'm kidding. Anyway, again, I hope you all have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope that as life unfolds for you and as things come up, you find whatever you need. Be that a certain perspective, be that an understanding, be that recognition of your accomplishments, be that encouragement, be it like literally a second to breathe and get some air because everybody's not Scorpio, so we can't all just be at the bottom of the ocean in the abyss for indefinite amounts of time and not need some sunlight or some fresh oxygen through our lungs, not filtered through our gills. Anyway, I'll catch y'all later. Have an excellent night if it's nighttime, morning if it's morning, evening if it's evening, day if it's the day, whatever, whatever.